Hi everybody, a little quick comments on this little painting that I did just there called Gun Lady, I call that. It's based on a sort of World War II era lady from the East, maybe Russian, maybe Ukrainian, maybe from Poland or whoever. I saw that the Russian army used to use these ladies. There's a story of, I think it's the Battle of Stalingrad or one of those where the Germans arrived and they saw these ladies that were manning a anti-aircraft gun, and these ladies turned the anti-aircraft gun towards the tanks. So that stayed with me. It's something very intriguing. There's photos of them. There's a lot of them, so they're quite famous. I like the idea of contrast. The idea of a pretty lady, but in a kind of dangerous situation or something. Or being dangerous herself, having guns and etc. There's a fantastic film called Cross of Iron by Sam Peckinpah, which is just incredibly good. Anyway, so what you see me there is I did a little sketch vaguely inspired by this whole backstory, and I had no idea where I'm going. I generally don't know. I don't like to copy photos. I don't mind people doing that if they want to. That's obviously a good way to proceed to make art. I would look at photos as reference so that I know the type of uniforms, the guns, or if you're drawing an animal that you don't know, like a hippopotamus or something, then you look at photos. But I'll try not to copy the photo. I will try to just look at the different photos so I have it in my mind. I know the volume of the animal or how the gun is, how the tank is, whatever it is, a car, something. And then reimagine it in a different position. I just like to do that. Personally, it's just a thing. So my drawings are not super realistic because of that, but they are sort of myself. I think just reproducing a photo to me is not interesting. I just like to put a lot of myself into the images that I do. So this is why I kind of paint from imagination or draw a lot from imagination. And good artists like Kim Jong-gi or even Karl Kopinski, they've drawn a lot of things and now they have all that stuff in their mind and they kind of start drawing and imagine things in a realistic way. It's always very impressive when you see these guys. I was lucky enough to see Kim Jong-gi once in Leeds draw, and I sat behind him quietly for 2 hours just looking at it, drawing how slowly he was drawing, and it was amazing, just so beautiful. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, and we have to keep going with this. Not always will I do that, which is a sort of inking on top of the pencil, but I saw that the classical painters used to do that a lot, and to do a light layer to begin with on something, and then slowly build up their color and the fat on top of the thin. I think it's in the movie Amélie where the old man who's a painter is trying to do a Renoir or something. He imitates Renoir, and then he has this little kid. They tell him, "Gras sur maigre," paint thick on thin. So obviously you can do it the other way. You can start with a super thick amount of paint and see where you go. I think John Singer Sargent, the famous American painter, used to do that. Someone described that they saw a lot of paint on his palette, and it was going down at a vast pace as it was going on the canvas. The description was quite amazing. We saw this paint diminishing on the palette as fast as possible. Anyway, my particular way of painting is obviously more economical because I don't have a huge canvas to paint at the moment, but the idea is the same. You use thick tools on top of thin, so you build up, and you kind of leave a little bit of the background here and there, and it creates levels of intensity, and it's really cool as a method. And I would also sometimes start with a different color. Say the painting I know is going to end up being orange, and I would start with everything blue or everything green and paint most of it green or blue, and then paint orange on top so that it has this sort of contrast. And here and there's a little bit of blue or something left from the original paint that you used. And it's really dynamic and really cool. But for this one, I just did it straightforward. It was just like, it's going to be orangey with a little bit of military green kind of colors on the lady there. So she's wearing a uniform from the East. Nothing too precise. It's just something from imagination, just a sketch to relax. It has no purpose more than entertainment for me. Just trying to imbue some little sketch of life and see where I go. And again, always play with the contrast, the idea of a beautiful lady with something dangerous, something pretty and something dangerous. I think it works really well. That's just the way I see the world, if you will. And I also like movement. Personally, I like when things are moving, when you have the feeling that something is in movement, or if she's posing like there, you still think that it's just for a fraction of a second. She's actually doing something else, and she just turns to you and looks, and you have the chance to see her and capture her like that. So the idea of moving, of stuff is not fixed, that is not posed. I like that a lot. In old paintings as well, like I went to see Rembrandt and all these people, and there's a feeling that stuff is moving, even though it is heavily painted and quite detailed. Nothing is cold. It doesn't have that sort of dead feeling. Not that there is anything wrong with anything, obviously. Some painter can do that really well, but that's just what I personally like. That impression that you're looking at an actual living thing that is just there. The artist, the person doing it, transcribes that. So the way I paint, I take a long time to mix my paints. So I use acrylic paint there. This is acrylic, is something called Liquitex, which is really good quality, quite expensive. Just mix it up myself, and I use sort of primary colors. I don't use too many different colors. I have big tubes of red camyon, some cerulean blue, bit of cobalt. It's the only weird colors that I have, and then the red, black, and yellow. Yeah, yellow as well, kind of a primary yellow. And from that you can make all the colors, pretty much everything. Black and white, obviously. That's all you need. And you may want a weird color here and there if you have it, but I would not use too many complex things. Personally, I'm happy with just using the basics and mixing them up myself, so finding the colors that I want to create. Not by accident, but sort of, I wouldn't know how much of each little colors I've put into a particular one that I'm using. I'm using a very thin brush there. When I did my comic, I used to destroy one of those brush per page. Every one of those pages and the comic Killed the Pict was done using a brush, like quite expensive brush, until I realized that if you want the brush to last, what you need to do is wash them with dishwashing soap and cold water. Never use hot water with acrylic. Use really cold water and rinse them with lots of dishwashing soap. Every time you change color, or every time you go wash your hands or eat a sandwich or something, just wash them in running water with dishwashing soap, and then make the point with your fingers, and it would last way longer. I never knew that. I just used to wash them in water, but water's not enough. It stays in, and then it kills the brush. Everything gets stuck together. You can see me there kind of messing around, adding a bit of brown, and there are phases where it looks ugly, but in your mind you are building it up. You are creating something from nothing. And to do that, it's quite messy. It's a bit like anything. If you look at, I don't know, people making houses or something, in the beginning they just destroy everything, they dig, and it's quite ugly, and then they know what they're doing, and then slowly you build up something, and then it makes sense after a while. I knew the artists do the same thing, dig into the materials, and it looks messy for a long time, but in your mind you let it happen and kind of go more and more into detail. I wanted the eyes to be sad and beautiful and intense. I wanted her to have this intense look of she's been through hell or something. She's experienced something, and she's like taking no shit from anybody. She's determined. Yeah, yes, I know what life is, and I have that in my eyes as you're looking at it. You look at these old photos, people have that. They have this intensity. I'm lucky enough that I never experienced that myself, but I can see it in the photos. The artist is the person who sees things and doesn't really explain them, so you let yourself go and you follow your imagination, and you just try and transcribe that. And this is why it's terrible when people are using the AI. Everything is based on humans. The human that is doing the painting has a lot of value, even if the painting's not perfect and the arm is too long, or this or that. Like here, the gun is. I should have used reference. I kind of didn't have the time to look at reference and see what I was doing, so I just improvised something, thinking it's not the most important thing. I'm just gonna paint over and something vaguely metallic and a huge machine gun of some sort. But it's not the main point of this image. just need to look meaningful and has this sort of silhouette that is threatening. At some point there I will paint the background, and that was always my idea, to kind of paint it with an ochre yellow sort of thing, to make it like everything is a sort of end of day atmospheric thing. Yeah, obviously because this is a sketch, I fade it into the page so that you have the life of the painting outside like that. I always liked when paintings are unfinished and not completely completely finished. It's just me. I like everything that is moving, that is unfinished, that has life, that is meaningful, that has soul, if you will, as opposed to something that is perfect, fully rendered, and completely dead. I tell that to my students a lot. You don't need to have all the images that you're doing for your projects. You're completely refined. Oh yeah, this is this brush. At some point, I do a lot of spitting. Use a thicker brush and put a lot of paint with a bit of liquid on it, and then project it onto the background to make it like I don't know, some drops of something, and that adds a lot of life. Some dust, something moving in the background. Here I'm using a little bit of a gray, blue, green on top to create more depth into that jacket there, so that it's sort of this military green that has thickness, is maybe some kind of thick material, something like that. She has goggles because it's cold and whatever. Maybe they have goggles. Maybe she's riding motorbikes or something. I don't know. The whole thing is completely imaginary. It's not based on actual events from the historical period, but it makes you think that it is, that you kind of seeing that. It could totally be fantasy. Again, just imagination. Personally, I'm quite in love with the people's imagination. How does the artist take something and make it live in their own world and take you somewhere else? Because otherwise you just use photos. You take photos and you have the thing that is there exactly like it is, so that's not what I want to do. I just want to tell stories. I want to bring some emotion, even if you're doing a tiny sketch like that and it's meaningless. I mean, it's not going to be sold or put in a gallery or something. Maybe one day I'll put those in a frame and sell them, but for me they're just a way to express myself, if you will. I have to do that every day, a little bit of a painting, a little bit of a drawing, a little bit of a artistic thing, something happening, so I feel better. Imagine a sportsman has to go to the gym and lift some weights. Someone who's good at whatever it is, cooking, you have to cook something good every day. You just practice your skills. It's lots and lots of practice that will get you there, if you will. And it shouldn't be a drag. It shouldn't be something that I need to really practice what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. No, you just do it because you will have some instant reward. Like, you will create something that exists suddenly and is super satisfying. And then I have hundreds and hundreds of paintings over the years. When I was working in the film industry, I was so busy all day long doing designs that when I would come home I would not want to paint because I was exhausted and couldn't paint anything. But since I've been a teacher, a lecturer, I have more time to do that. I sometimes paint in front of the students to inspire them and give them ideas, and I show them tricks. I don't hide any of my tricks. I don't keep it to myself. And something I'm realizing as I'm painting this is how many times I use my finger to kind of mold the paint here and there. I just use the brush, and then sometimes the finger comes in. I've seen Jung do that, and other people, and it's basically you don't even control or know exactly what you're doing, but at that point you need to fade that little bit of brush here, and it's too sharp or it's not sharp enough, and you add more sharpness, more definition, more of this, more of that. So yeah, you can see that this lady is now taking shape. Some of the spit on the right hand side got damaged because I put my finger or my hand on them. And so I repainted on them, and it's a little bit messier now, but it doesn't matter, because to me it does look like maybe there's the sky is a bit bigger or something's happening there, some more dust. My signature is very important. I always decided I need to sign everything and put my date on everything. So there's an FV there and the date, which is 2025. But I still keep painting even though the signature is done. I'm gonna add details, etc., etc. And I think that's pretty much done for this little sketch. So this was sped up quite a lot. It's only 20 minutes there, but in total I can't remember how long it took me, but this looks like sped up something like 5 times, this little film there. So it's a bit more involved when you're doing it, but the happiness from doing this is endless. I hope you enjoy this, and it is inspiring you to do something. Don't be afraid, start somewhere and see where it gets you. Alright, see you soon.